5, 4. And we are live. So, welcome everybody back to the interview corner. Last week we took a week off. Now we're back on it, and we have such a great guest. Tonight we have Mr. Ronald Green from Benedict College. Actually, Ronald T. Green spoke to a couple of his kids. Some of the kids said T stands for either technical or tough, but I'll say it stands for talented. Quick background on Mr. Green: he's an educator, performer, arranger, and composer. He was born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina, such a great city. Primary instrument is trumpet and percussion. He is a graduate of Burke High School and South Carolina State University. He is a loyal son. Uh, Musical influences are Mr. Leonard McLeod of Burke High School, the legend, Mr. Ronald Sargent, and Mr. H. Wade Johnson. As a performer, he has toured and performed abroad and in more than 50% of major United States cities. His professional resume includes Columbia High School, Fairfield Central High School, Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, Washington football team, marching band, and he is currently the assistant director of bands at Benedict College. So please give a huge round of applause for Mr. Ronald T. Green.
Hey.
Glad to have you on the show, sir. So
Thank
first, of course, I like to start off all my interviews. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background?
Yeah, so being born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina, it's a rich history of music and arts. Came up as a little boy, started out in music really early, like a lot of musicians. Started out in church as a drummer and got my first opportunity to play, out in church and just kind of express myself through that idiom. And then I got to move a little bit further. My first formal training actually started in middle school. And I tell this story all the time, how I got to playing the trumpet. I went to Rivers Middle School. My band director was Alfonso Brown. So the particular summer that was leading into that particular academic year, where all the students came in and chose the instruments that they wanted to play. I got there a day late. Everybody had been there already for a day. So of course I wanted to play the drums initially. And being a day late, all the little boys already took all the drums from me. So all the drum slots were gone. So all I had left to my hands were either the tuba, the trumpet, or the clarinet. And my justification I chose the trumpet, but my justification was, at the time, a little boy, the tuba's too heavy, the clarinet is for girls. So I said the trumpet was my next best thing. So that's how I became a trumpet player. But fast forward, you already read, went to Burke High School, served in a lot of leadership positions through high school and college. Served as a drum major in college. I'm a part of the South Carolina State Jazz Band Hall of Fame. Just a host of things, man. So, I don't want to get too much into myself, about what I'm doing, but that's just kind of a little bit more background about about my background and how I came up in music.
So for those who don't know, who watch the interview corner, in Charleston, South Carolina, Burke High School is actually a legendary high school. I'm not saying that because I marched there as well, but it's actually rich when it comes to music tradition. Mr. Leonard McLeod, he has produced a lot of great musicians. And the one thing he preached is music. So it's a big deal anytime somebody says Burke High School. So you graduated from Burke High School, then you went on to South Carolina State. So can you tell us about that experience?
Well, so I went to South Carolina State. My first year participating in the band was 1996. Now, the interesting thing was, if anybody knows anything about Orangeburg, South Carolina, where South Carolina State is located, there's a school right next door called Claflin University, which then was Claflin College. That kind of goes to show my age a little bit, but so my first year, I actually was a student at Claflin College academically, but I participated in the band program at South Carolina State during that same year, because Claflin did not have a band program themselves at the time. So they had a program where they would allow students that are students at Claflin to still participate in the marching band or the band program at South Carolina State and actually receive credit for that, academic credit for that. So I did that my first year in 1996. Came in as a freshman. Knowing coming through that particular school, being from Charleston breeds a lot of people kind of goes and funnels into South Carolina State, being from Charleston, South Carolina, because they're so close in proximity. So I knew a lot of people going into that band program. I already knew some people that came before me. Getting a chance to kind of just make music and meet different people from different places. Met Mr. Ronald Sargent, obviously. He's one of the legends in the game. If you don't know him, look him up. Rest in peace to him. But he's one of the legends in the music game as a whole. And got there that first year. That was our first. That was the largest band at the time that we exceeded. We were about 300, a little bit over 300 members that particular year. And the great recruiting class, the freshman class was 101 members, and that's our nickname, the 101. So that was kind of a little thing that we felt some pride in. But it was an awesome experience going into that band program. It's world renowned. Stand on the shoulders of a lot of giants, a lot of influential musicians, a lot of impactful musicians and people throughout society. So, that particular process going into that program, it was just like coming from high school and just kind of picking up at a different level and taking it to another level from what I learned and took from high school.
So speaking to a lot of South Carolina State grads, especially a lot of them that marched under Ronald Sargent, a lot of you guys not only take a lot of pride in the program, but you a lot of you taking a lot of lessons from him. What's one lesson you've taken from Ronald Sargent?
Well, humility, how to be humble. If you know anything about Mr. Sargent, he was the most humble man, but the greatest and one of the gigantic men in this business. He never spoke really loud, but his word and what he said, the substance of what he said, and it got to you, it pierced you, man, it got to you. He got his message across just as somebody was yelling, screaming at the top of their lungs. So I learned a lot of humility from him and just how to move in silence. You don't have to make a whole lot of noise in order to make a great impact. So that's one of the lessons I learned from him. There's plenty more, but that's the main one.
That's a pretty good lesson. And I vaguely remember him when I was in high school, but the one thing I always used to hear was he never really raised his voice. And if he did, we wouldn't know about it.
So. No, he didn't. He didn't. He he just had a way of getting, even when he wasn't pleased or he was angry, he just had a way of getting to you. He don't speak too loudly. He's gonna make sure that you feel it and understand, but he's not gonna raise his voice. And that just kind of showed how much respect people had for him, the fact that you're gonna focus and listen to him regardless of how soft he talked. So yeah.
So you're an arranger.
Yes, sir.
Who are some of your inspirations when it comes to arranging?
Okay, well, Ronald J. Sargent. That was the first one. But also his brother, Lindsey Sargent. And being from Burke High School, you already know we played about 95% or maybe 100% of Lindsey Sargent's arrangements from FAMU. So, coming up into that particular learning and listening to that type of musicianship and that type of arrangement at an early age, it just kind of helped to shape my ear and shape what I wanted to do. Once I really got into arranging, it helped to shape, my style and the different things I wanted to do as an arranger. But in addition to that, somebody that it's a little bit more, excuse the sirens in the background, but somebody that's a little bit more current, Mr. Marcus Graham. And he's one of my good friends. We share a lot, and he's influenced me a lot in terms of his writing ability and just kind of things that I kind of implement into my writing. So those are the main three people that I would say that has kind of really shaped and had an influence in my writing and my writing ability and style.
And we actually had Mr. Graham on a couple weeks ago, so
Okay.
it's kind of funny how a lot of South Carolina State grads will reference another South Carolina State grad as an
Yeah, man.
inspiration for
Yeah,
arranging.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that shows a lot of support.
Right.
And the other funny thing is, once again, talk about Burke High School, Lindsey Sargent. We did see a lot of his arrangements.
Yeah.
I'm showing my age a little bit, but I still have my sheet music when I was in high school band, and we actually played the handwritten version of SOS.
Oh wow. Yeah, yeah.
I look younger than how old I really am, hopefully. But sticking with arranging,
Yeah.
what's your thought process when you are working on an arrangement?
Well, so if I had a particular style or my thought process, you're talking about just the process of how I create a song, when I create. Yeah. Okay. It depends. It depends what type of song it is. Most times with, when I listen to a record, I'll listen to that record a few times. I'll listen to it maybe, 4 or 5 times. And just kind of, I absorb the music. And whatever part kind of sticks out to me and kind of really, kind of reaches out to me the most. So if that's the bass line, if it's the melody, if it's the chords, whatever the case may be, I kind of approach it, in different ways, just depending on the style and the type of song it is. So I like I said, I've started the song, bass line first, because the bass line is just that, that rich and just that prevalent. I've started them, chords first, because the chord structure and the chord progressions were, were really prevalent, or melody. So, it just goes from song to song. That's kind of my process and how I kind of approach it. And then from there, I just kind of build from that particular point.
Do you have a favorite arrangement right now?
Arrangement that I've done? Probably, oh man, you put me on the spot with that one. It will probably be Shame by Tyrese. We did that arrangement a couple of years ago. We played that maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but that was one of the ones that kind of, I remember, just kind of, where I was and how I felt when I arranged it. And I had a friend of mine, he teased me. He was like, "Man, you must be having problems with a woman or something like that, because it really came out." I was like, "No, man, it's just, I was just in a good place and kind of just focused." So that will be one of the ones. But I have others that I really like as well. But Shame kind of sticks out to me right now.
We have a question from our Facebook floor. What's your process of teaching your arrangements and getting your students to perform the arrangement as you hear it?
So what I do normally, we'll take the piece, and I ask my students, even if most times when they're familiar with the song, they'll want to just go all in. They just want to go all in from the very first time that we play it. But what I ask them, I tell them to do, like, listen, first couple of times, we're just going to play this at a mezzo piano type volume, so we can hear all the parts. So you can hear where your part fits in. You can hear, where other things are happening, where's the importance, where's the melody, kind of melodies, all that kind of good stuff. So, we go through a piece. And I'll just run it through the first time, mistakes and all. We'll go through the piece, and then we'll just to get from beginning to end. Then I'll come back, and then we start working just particular sections of the music. So I'm a big guy on endings. I love endings when it comes to arrangements. So many times I'll start from the end. I'll start from the ending because most times that's the most unfamiliar part of the song. for students. So I'll start from the ending and I'll work my way back, or I'll start from the ending and then come back to the beginning and then work back through the song. But we go through parts. We repeat parts over and over, and then stylistically, we understand. We start to teach those implement those concepts. We phrasing. We start working on phrasing. We working on articulation. Those particular things. So that it ain't no real big secret. That's kind of how we approach it.
We got a question from our Zoom floor. It says you worked with smaller bands and larger bands. What's the main difference in teaching a smaller band versus the larger ones?
Well, the smaller bands, obviously it's a little bit more, being able to touch individually and being able to hear individuals a little bit more, being able to hear them play and execute. But you have that opportunity to kind of touch that particular student or reach out to and really work that particular student or those particular couple of students, because you don't have the whole conglomerate of people that you have to work with, and you have 20 people in this section or you got 30 people in this section. So working with those smaller bands, you get a chance just to kind of, just like in a regular classroom, they talk about, having that one-on-one experience and have that interaction with the professor, being able to get that one-on-one training and instruction. So you get a little bit more one-on-one training, even in a rehearsal setting. You kind of be able to get that and have that advantage of being able to have that with a smaller band program. Larger band programs, we aren't that large, but we are pretty good size. And now we can't spend a whole lot of time. Well, I can't spend a whole lot of time, just focus on one particular person or one particular group for an extended period of time as I could with a smaller band. So that's just kind of probably the main thing I would say, the difference between the two.
So, you're an arranger, composer, a performer, and assistant director of bands. So how do you find a balance?
Well, I make a balance. I'm intentional about making time for myself, because I've learned and I've seen through experience, a lot of people that have come before me, before any of us. This industry can burn you out if you allow it to. It can really burn you out because there's a lot of pressure, to be at the best, and be at the top week to week. And it's a very competitive industry. So, you can find yourself just embossing and get engulfed just in work, work, work. But for me, I make sure that I find some time for myself, whether it be just a few hours here, a day here, whenever we have an off weekend, I make sure that I kind of, decompress and separate myself from anything banned, just so I can have some sort of, sanity. And not, as you can see, I got a bunch of white hair in my bed right now. So, that comes from a little bit, I know it's age, but, it's a little stress as well. So I don't want it to be something, that long term will affect me negatively. So I'm intentional about finding time, for myself and finding that balance. So, I'm able to be at my fullest, my full force, and, and being able to give to these students what they need.
One of the things I always tell my students, each gray hair that I have on my head, it has a name. So it's usually a student that's trigger a gray hair.
Right. Well, I got a bunch of names then, because I got a plenty. It's actually changing. It's getting more and more week by week, seems like. So, but I'm cool. I embrace it. I was teasing with a friend. It's kind of off subject. I was teasing with a friend. They told me, well, you should go ahead and get the blackout kit on you. I'm like, nah, man. I'm gonna look like I'm a fake robot and walk around with a blackout kit. But I'm gonna embrace my white. I'm gonna embrace my gray.
We got a question from the Facebook floor. Okay. What is your why for being a music educator?
Well, and I got into this because I wanted to have an impact, man. I saw the impact that music and band had on me coming up as a kid, coming up in Charleston, coming up, seeing the experiences and just the lessons that I've learned over the years. And being that I'm a performer as well, still to this day, like there's a certain feeling I get, even from just performing and still teaching today. So that is something that I wanted to share with students and share with people that are coming up behind me. So I just wanted to have an impact on that level. So that's the main reason, I just wanted to share the experience that I had growing up, some of the things that I experienced in music and band, and just share that with other people.
Question from the Zoom floor. Do you believe that the competitive aspect between your former HBCU of South Carolina State University 101 and your current HBCU of Benedict College Band of Distinction grew since you marched, or it kind of settled down?
Well, I think it is. I think it has grown a little bit because when I was in school, there was a competitive spirit between the two schools as well. But the difference is you have two South Carolina State alums that are the helm of the Benedict College Band program. So that keeps, that connection and that tie, between the schools. So it makes it a little bit more, competitive, because we understand that's always going to be, South Carolina State is always going to be my alma mater. And there ain't no bones about that. But we also understand, that Benedict, is a part of the family too. So, and right now, we on the Benedict side of things, and when we come together and perform against each other, hey, we just got to do what we got to do, So, but it's great competition, and it's all love, of course, because we love our alma mater, but we also love, our current institution as well. So, yeah.
One thing I always explain to people, for those who don't understand HBCU culture, it might look like a rivalry, but at the end of the day, we all love each other.
It's all
We
love,
all
man.
in the same
It's
boat.
all love. It's music, man. It ain't no gangs in band. Like, it ain't no thugs in band. So,
Right.
if there is, hey, you a musical thug. So, I mean, but I mean, it's all love, man. It's all love. So that I definitely I appreciate the competitive side, but also we also remember that, it all love at the end of the day.
We got a question from the Facebook floor. What are some of the things you are looking forward? What are some of the things you are looking for when you're recruiting students to your program?
Oh man. So the first thing we look for is a kid with good character. We see a lot of students on a yearly basis. And people say, well, we want the best musician, and of course we want the best musician. But if that best musician is, an issue character-wise, and they're not going to be around to even demonstrate and display their talent, that's probably not a person that we want to, be a part of the program. Now, is everybody in our program perfect? No. But that's the first thing. We look for a student with good character. But also, of course, we look for students that can perform and play, at a high level on their instruments. And we're balanced because we also, allow students. We get students that may not be at that higher tier of musicianship, but they have the potential. So we definitely, bring those students on. So have higher character. You can play your instrument well, and then you got to have your grades. If your academics are not in place and not on point, you can't get into the school, first of all, so you can't even be a part of the band program. But that's the other thing that we look for. So you good character, good grades, and being a good musician. Those are the kind of the foundational things that we look for. Now, when you get a little bit more deeper, we can talk about audition requirements and all that kind of stuff. But those are the foundational things that we look for.
Question from the Zoom floor. What's your vision for the Benedict College Band of Distinction in the next 5 years?
Well, we need to be one of the premier programs in college bands and colleges, period. Um, we don't want to just be considered, you know, just are we good to be an HBCU band? No, we're good enough to be competing with any band, any college band program that's out there, because we have collegiate level musicians and young people and students that can do some of the same things that other students can do at their colleges. So we just want to be considered, one of the elite band programs, offering great a great band program, a great experience. We are a comprehensive band program, so we have most of the standard ensembles that you can consider. So definitely have our concert wind ensemble. We have our marching band, of course. We have our pep band, and then we have our big jazz band. So we have something for everybody, and students can get whatever type of music, whatever level of music that they'll look for in a band program, and then the way they want to express themselves moving forward. So yeah.
So shifting gears for 1 second.
Mhm.
What's it like working alongside Mr. H. Wade Johnson?
Now this I can talk about this all day, but so we've been working together over 20 years now. We've been together over 20 years, and it started. I'll say professionally, we worked together maybe 15 years, but he initially came back to South Carolina State in 1997 as the assistant director of bands. And so ever since then, we had a connection. He was the jazz band director as well in that particular situation. So I was in a jazz band, student conductor, all that kind of good stuff. But fast forward to our professional careers together. We met up at Lincoln University. So I was living at the time. I think I was living in Atlanta, and he called me up one day and asked me like, "Hey, what do you think about moving to Pennsylvania to be an assistant at a college?" And so I thought about it. I paused for a second. I was like, I definitely would, love to do that. That's something that would interest me, because working on a college level has always been one of my goals. And we talked about it. He said, well, I said, well, can I have a couple of days to think about it? He's like, of course, but if you do, I need you here by Sunday. That was a Wednesday. So I had Thursday, Friday. I had 3 days to get from Atlanta to Pennsylvania, because band camp started on that Sunday. And so, but like I said, I thought about it, prayed about it, talked to my family, and it was the best decision that I could have made for myself at the time. And but he's a ball of fire. If anybody knows H. Wade Johnson, he is the life of the party. He never, he's always hype. He's in his upper age. I ain't gonna tell his age, but when we get together, it's kind of like we the yin and the yang, because he's all gun ho, hype, excited all the time, and I'm kind of like the low key, leveled out one. So I guess we balance each other out, and that's one of the reasons why our relationship has worked so well over the years. So, but he's a phenomenal musician, phenomenal guy. Like I said, any of you that know him know that he's he tried to makes people that is around him feel like family. He never met a stranger in his life. So if you get a chance, if you haven't met him, and you get a chance to meet him, you'll know what I'm talking about within the first few seconds of engaging him. So, but he's an awesome leader. I learned a lot from him, and I'm continuing to learn a lot from him as we move forward, through our career. So yeah, man, he's an awesome leader, man. One of the living legends. He's one of the living legends. He's been doing it over 40 years. So
Wow,
one of the living legends, man.
and we kind of we kind of joke around. If you don't know Mr. H. Wade Johnson, as a high school director, he can take your room with 3 words: greetings and salutations.
Yeah.
The way he
Yeah.
starts off his intros,
Yeah.
he'll sell you that fast.
That's his thing, man. That is his thing.
So when we're talking about the Benedict College Band of Distinction,
Right.
what is the characteristic sound of the band?
Well, we talking about fundamental. We talking about intonation. You know, we talking about playing. We talking about playing a tune. We talking about articulation. Talking about phrasing. You know, we talking about playing instruments. You know, in the capacity of the horn. You know, and the realm of the horn. We're just talking about all those fundamental things that that we try to preach and that we learned at an early age. We have a sound. I think that is signature. We have a very warm sound. We have a very full sound. We don't try to be anybody else. We don't try to mimic anybody else. We just try to stay in our lane. But those fundamental things, man. When you think about the music pyramid, we think about bass, and then we think about treble, at the top. So we kind of use that format, just in the way we approach things, playing together, executing together, those type things. So yeah, that's essentially the Benedict sound, just with a little twist, here and there. And like I said, with endings and different things like that, that kind of helps with the sound as well. So yeah.
So speaking alongside of the characteristic sound, being around the band the couple times I have, you guys have a family-like atmosphere. So
Right.
how do you build that within your program? How do you build that type of culture?
Well, we started band camp. That is one of the purposes of band camp, is develop a cohesive group and a cohesive unit, to build that family bond. Now, is everybody going to get along? No. Everybody going to like each other? No. But we at least expect everybody to respect each other, and respect each other, what they do as musicians or whatever craft that they bring to the table. So we in band camp, we spend a lot of time together, obviously, like most band programs do. You're together early in the morning, and you're not leaving until late at night most times. So we're intentional about not just it being about just music, but of course that's the most important part, and that's the bulk of it. But we do things together. We do some team building things, and just some things that we can kind of take and learn, from each other, learn about each other. It's the responsibility of everybody to know everybody in the band program by a certain date for us. You can't you can't be in our band program and say you don't know your section leader's name. You can't go in your band program and say you sit next to a person every day in band class, or the band room, and you never know their name. So we make it a requirement, and we are intentional. Like, hey, by this time you need to know everybody in this band program. So if something happens, you need to be able to shoot that person's name. So, and it just helps to develop that camaraderie. So that's one of the things that we are just intentional about doing. Outside of music, we try to build relationships as well.
We have a question from our Facebook floor. What are some of the concepts that you make your arranging style unique?
So conceptually, without getting too far and give all my secrets away now.
Yeah, protect your
So
secrets, but give us something.
so
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm really big on, is playing songs that fit, or playing with play songs that fit your band program. Not every song is for everybody. Playing within the timbre of the instruments, playing within the range of the instruments. I'm very particular about that. So we're not going to make a tuba sound like a mellophone. We're not going to do those things because a mellophone is there to sound like a mellophone. We don't need a tuba to do its job. So conceptually, I'm just, I'm very, very, intentional again about making sure the instruments, are playing in their ranges of their horns, so that the most effective and best sound can come out. Um, when you talk about choosing keys, when you want to make sure that the key that you choose is one that's going to be as effective as possible. When it comes to executing that song, because not every key is the best fit, to perform and to do those type things, especially in a marching band. So that's another one of those things. But conceptually, again, we doing the basics. We are going to play in tune. We are going to articulate together. We are going to phrase together. And this that's just those fundamental things. So I hope that answered the question.
Question from our Zoom floor. How do you feel alumni can impact a program, and in what ways?
Alumni can have a great impact on the band program, especially if they have the mindset that they want to support and that they want to buy into what is going on with the band program. We were blessed when we came to Benedict College. The alumni here, they jumped on board. They supported us from day one. They made sure that we had what we needed. Anything like that. So we were just blessed to be able to walk into a situation where we had an alumni association that believed and bought into what we brought to the table. So alumni association or alumni can be a very, very important and a crucial part, to the success of a band program, because they can lend support in a lot of ways. They can be your number one recruiter sometimes. They can be one of your heaviest recruiters sometimes. I shouldn't say number one, but they can be your heaviest recruiter sometimes. So they bring a lot to the table. So having and fostering that relationship with the alumni band program has been one of the things that we has just saw important, and we continue to see important as we move forward with Benedict College. So yeah, very important.
And it's funny you say that, because we do have a couple of alumni at our own schools who will say, "Hey, what do you think about this school? What do you think about that school?"
Right.
At my current school, we actually have a Benedict alum, and she used to preach it to the students. Hey, you need to look into Benedict before you looking at any other school.
Right.
So alumni can make an impact.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What was your most memorable moment in both as an educator and as a part of the band of distinction?
Educator at Benedict or just anywhere?
Anywhere.
Well, my most memorable moment anywhere was at Lincoln University the first time that I went to Honda. I was blessed to be able to take that band program to the Honda Battle of Bands. Now, the reason that sticks out to me, I've been to Honda a few more times, but that one was the first and the most memorable because nobody expected that little 64-piece band from Pennsylvania, from Central Pennsylvania, to be on that type of stage. My students at the time that were there, they were gun ho, like they bought in, like, okay, we're gonna make this happen for ourselves. But not only did they make it happen, our support group, our fans, our people that that support us, they made it happen for us. So to be able to take that particular group and us, we were by far the smallest group. Like I'm talking about, like exponentially smaller than most of the bands there. But I think it did a couple of things for us. It definitely put Lincoln University on the map, in terms of band. But it also gave people an insight to where smaller bands can make huge impressions as well. You don't have to have the large numbers in order to make a huge impression and to put a good product out there. So probably my most memorable experience as an educator, because again, they bought into that whole process, man. If I go through the whole story, we'll be here for a couple of hours. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But is at the second one was at Benedict. What was
Yes.
mine? So at Benedict, it had to been my most memorable experience here. It had to been again. I'll say Honda again this past year.
Okay.
Because this particular year, we had. I think we had this year. This past year we had the best band that we've kind of compiled here at Benedict since we've been here. And these students again, they bought into the whole situation. They wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to show, hey, Benedict belongs in these conversations when it comes to bands. So just seeing them, how they grew, how they prepared, how they put themselves in position just to be great every day. They came to work every day. They came prepared and ready. They performed in the classroom, obviously, because they know they wouldn't be gone if they didn't. But that was probably the other thing here at Benedict College. So those two Honda experiences probably were my main two kind of moments, memorable moments. There were others. There are plenty others, but those kind of stick out to me.
And you're speaking about this year's Benedict College band. One of the big highlights, I would say, aside from Honda, because we went to the Honda, you guys were amazing. I often talk about the Miles game, and I said that was like Ali versus Frazier because I hope nobody came for the football game. That's all I can say.
That was a great one. That was a great one.
The bands from beginning of the game all the way through the end of fifth quarter, it was a total battle.
Yeah.
We have a question from the Zoom floor.
Okay.
What are your top 3 HBCU SIAC bands and why?
Top 3 HBCU SIAC bands. Okay. Benedict College, of course, at the top. But we don't have to go through why I think, we are at the top.
Okay.
I'll say Fort Valley. And well, I'm gonna put all these together. Miles, Kentucky State, and I'm gonna say Clark Atlanta. And people sleep on Clark Atlanta because they're a smaller group, but they have some great things going on. And I know that's more than 3. That was 6, but I couldn't just put 3.
You good? I thought you was gonna say Benedict, and Benedict, but you actually.
No, I'm that's just that's my opinion. But they have some good things going on. And I appreciate and it goes back to what I was saying about small bands. Just you don't have to be large to really be great and to make an impact. So those I would say the ones that kind of stand out to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Benedict College Band of Distinction went to Honda this past year. Out of that experience, what do you hope the band got out of it?
Well, I hope they got out of you only as good as your last performance. I hope they got out of yes you did well, but you can't harp on that. You can't dwell on that. Every day has to be a day that you strive to be great. You greater than what you were yesterday. So you take from that, you build from that, because now we have a reputation to where people know and see who we are. And we're getting a little bit more notoriety. So people have expectation of us, whether it be good or bad. But we have to make sure that we remain consistent from this point and continue to move forward. We just can't have one good day, and then expect that to carry us through the coming years or in the future. We have to be better every day. So this can't be complacent. We have to make sure that we build from that and remain consistent from this particular point.
So speaking about growth,
Mm.
because watching the Benedict band program the last couple years, it seems like every year is getting built bigger, not
Right.
just size wise, but musically. What do you say contributed to that?
Um, well, we got a little bit of money. Money helps. We're able to offer competitive scholarships, and that kind of goes to our administration, our president, because they buy into the band program. They buy into what it takes for us to be successful. So they provide us the resources that we need in order to be successful. So that's part of it. We able to offer a competitive scholarship to students, but also we just try to be as personable, to the students, as real to the students as possible that we're recruiting. We want to help them and make them understand. You're going to be taken care of. You're going to have a good experience. You're going to be able to experience different styles of music and create memories that you otherwise wouldn't be able to create if you were not in the band. So we just try to be as open and as transparent with our potential students as possible. And from there, they have to make a decision on their own.
So seeing you guys in recruitment,
Mm.
and one of the things my kids used to talk about is when you guys came to the school, your recruitment style, pretty much you guys lay it all on the line saying, hey, you're going to come do this, but pretty much it's going to be towards your benefit.
Right.
So the one thing I can truly say about your program, especially when you recruit, you tell everybody from the get-go, you're going to work, but it's honored to be better.
Of course.
uh, that's one of the big things a lot of programs value about the program.
Right.
um, how often do you recruit in state versus going outside the state?
Well, in-state is our main focus. Um, we can't be a South Carolina school and not recruit the state of South Carolina first. And that's been our philosophy when we walk through the door day one. We have to make sure that we recruit the state of South Carolina first, and then we can branch out to the other states that we see fit and necessary to go recruit to or recruit from. Because again, you can't justify being a South Carolina school or college and not recruiting your own state in your own backyard. So over 50% of our recruitment is in the state of South Carolina, and then the other obviously the other places, the other states, they come after that. But every year when we get together and we figure out, we map out, where we're going to travel to or what places are we going to touch. South Carolina is always at the top of the list, and then we go from there.
Question from my Zoom floor: what does the future hold for Benedict College Band of Distinction?
Hopefully, more, continue consistency. That's one of the words I use. Just remaining consistent. We worked hard to build a brand, and we want to keep that brand and remain consistent with that brand. And that brand entails performance, acumen. That entails our academic excellence. It entails high character individuals in our band program. So all of that kind of goes into that when we talk about just the brand of our band program. So we just hope for moving forward that we can continue to remain consistent in that realm. And if we remain consistent in just those things in terms of how we operate, all of those the accolades will come. We work hard and we continue to be consistent. All those things, all those other, cherry on top and icing on that'll come. So that's how we kind of we express it to our students. Like, you put the hard work in, the rewards will come. So yeah.
Our last question for this evening.
Okay.
What advice can you give the young and upcoming or the young and starting band director?
Well, first of all, you need to make sure um, you have a passion for it and it's something that you want to do. And it's not just a popular thing that you want to get into because it's a fad thing. You know, a lot of people, are is doing it now. You see the YouTube videos, you see the directors and the bands and all that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that this is something that you want to do because it is a selfless industry and a selfless position to be in. You have to be a servant to the 10th power. You know, it's all about service and serving your students and those people around you. So if you don't have that heart and that mind frame and that mindset, it's not the industry for you. But if it is, if that's something that you do have, um, you know, that is something I tell you, um, surround yourself with good people. Get you a staff that has a like mind like yourself. That's going to help you to push your vision forward for the band program. Now, you have to be, careful, when you're doing that because you want to make sure that when you get somebody around you, staff members around you, that they want to push your vision forward and not their agenda forward. Because sometimes, people will, push their agenda forward, kind of on the slide. But surround yourself with good people. Um, build your program and the philosophy of your program just on principles, so on strong principles and fundamentals. Um, you know, don't try to be, don't try to be, don't try to be everything to all people. You only one person. You can do what you can do, and that's what you should focus on. But it all should be centered around and focus on the student. Always remember, anything that you do is for the student, and all your decisions and things that you do should be focused towards them. So that would be my little piece of advice for up and coming band directors.
So want everybody to take a quick second to unmute and give Mr. Ronald Green a huge round of applause for coming on the show. Appreciate you. Uh, we got a lot of celebrities in the room, so we're gonna continue this chat afterwards. For those who are watching on Facebook, thank you guys again for checking out the interview corner. Next week, we're gonna be doing a back to school session. So we're gonna have some educators on to talk about some back to school practices and something you might want to incorporate either in your virtual classroom or your face-to-face classroom. But other than that, thank you guys for watching Interview Corner and have a good evening. Everybody else.